When an object is shot from the bottom of a long, smooth, inclined plane kept at an angle of 60 degrees with horizontal, it can travel a distance x1 along the plane. But when the inclination is decreased to 30 degrees and the same object is shot with the same velocity, it can travel x2 distance. Then x1 is to x2 will be 1, 1 is to root 2, 2, root 2 is to 1, 3, 1 is to root 3, and 4 is 1 is to 2 root 3. Now let us solve this. Given, now we all know that v squared is equal to u squared plus 2as. Or in this case, let us, since it is an it is now going through an angle, so let us take the x coordinate or x. We can resolve the distance into two directions. One is x sine theta and the other is x cos theta along the x-axis and x sine theta along the y-axis. So it will be now u squared plus 2g, where g instead of a we are going to take the acceleration due to gravity g into x sine theta. Now you know the final velocity is 0, so v is equal to 0. So initial velocity is 0 in both the cases. So therefore we can see that x sine theta is now going to be a constant. It can be taken as a constant. So x1 by x2 is equal to sine of theta 2 by theta 1. This is nothing but sine. We can see that sine, in the second case it is sine theta 2 is 30 and theta 1 is 60. So substituting those values, you'll get it as sine of 30 degrees divided by sine of 60 degrees. We know the values for sine 30 and sine 60. Substituting that, we'll get it as half divided by root 3 by 2, which is nothing but 1 is to root 3. Let's see which option is correct. 1 is to root 3, option 3 is correct. Now going to the 33rd question. A particle moving with velocity v is acted upon by three forces shown by the vector triangle PQR. The velocity of the particle will 1 increase, 2 decrease, 3 remain constant, 4 change according to the smallest force Q. Now let us quickly solve this. If three forces are now, so we can let us draw the vector triangle given. So it is given as PQR. So PQ, QR and PR. PQ, PQ, QR and PR. So this is the vector triangle given. So if two forces acting on particle is a rectangle which is represented the same order, that is PQ, QR and RP. So according to, so we can see that the F net, the net force is now going to be 0. According to Newton's law, first law, body remains in a state of rest or uniform motion given that the body is moving with you. Now here it is now going to, we can see that he says that the particle is moving with a uniform motion. Okay. So it is given that the body is moving with uniform velocity. Hence the body remains to be constant. It continues to be moving with the same velocity without any change in the direction. So we can say that so first increase remains a constant. He says it remains a constant. So option 3 is correct. Now let us quickly go to the 34th question. 34th question. At a point A on the Earth's surface, the angle of dip delta is equal to plus 25 degrees. At a point B on the Earth's surface, the angle of dip is delta is equal to minus 25 degrees. We can interpret that 1. A and B are both located in the northern hemisphere. 2. A is located in the southern hemisphere and B is located in the northern hemisphere. 3. A is located in the northern hemisphere and B is located in the southern hemisphere. 4. A and B are both located in the southern hemisphere. So, when dip is positive, the particle is located in the northern hemisphere, and when the dip is negative, it is said to be in the southern hemisphere. So, from this we can infer that option 3 is correct. A is located in the northern hemisphere and B is located in the southern hemisphere. Now coming to the 5th question. A force F is equal to 20 plus 10y acts on a particle in y direction, where F is in Newton and y in meters. Work done by this force to move the particle from y equal to 0 to y is equal to 1 meter is 30 joules, 5 joules, 3 is 25 joules and 4 is 20 joules. Let's see which option is correct. Let us solve this. So now we know dW is equal to integration of F dy, where dW is the small amount of work done and F is the force and dy is the displacement. So this is now going to be, we can see from the question, we can see it is moving from 0 to 1 and F is given by 20 plus 10y. So let us substitute. So that will give you 20 plus 0 to 1, 20 plus 10y dy is equal to, on integrating we get it as, we can now take 20 outside, 0 to 1 dy plus 10 outside, integration of 0 to 1 y dy. Now on integration we can see that this is equal to 20 y between the limits 0 to 1 plus 10 y squared by 2 between the limits 0 to 1. This is nothing but, we can cancel off 2 and 5, so that will give you 5. So which is equal to 20 between the limits 1, when you apply the limits it becomes 1 minus 0 plus 5y squared. So 5, let me take 5 outside. So 1 minus 0 again, so that will give you, so it is now going to be 20 plus 5 which is equal to 25 joules. Let's see which option is correct. 25 joules, option 3 is correct. 36th question. The mass M is attached to a thin wire and whirled in a vertical circle. The wire is most likely to break when 1. The mass is at the highest point. 2. Wire is horizontal. 3. Mass is at the lowest point. 4. Inclined at an angle of 60 degrees from the vertical. Now let us quickly solve this. Let me draw the circle. So let us take the center to be O. This is now going to be the lowest point. So at this point you can resolve this, let this be mg. So this will be mg cos theta. Let this angle be theta. So now we know the tension T is equal to mg cos theta plus mv squared by r, where mv squared by r is nothing but the centripetal force. Now, tension is maximum when cos theta is going to be 0. That is, cos 0 is 1. So that means that will give you, the tension will be, when theta is equal to 0 means it will be at the lowest point. So you can see that tension is maximum at the lowest point when theta is equal to 0. So which option is correct? Option mass is the lowest point. So option 3 is correct. Mass is at the lowest point. So option 3 is correct. Now coming to the 37th question. The solid cylinder of mass 2 kg and radius 4 centimeters is rotating about its axis at the rate of 3 rotations per minute. The torque required to stop after 2 pi revolutions is 1. 2 into 10 to the power of minus 6 Newton meter. 2. 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 Newton meter. 3. 12 into 10 to the power of minus 4 Newton meter. 4. 2 into 10 to the power of 6 Newton meter. Now let us solve this. So, you know, tau is equal to by alpha, which is equal to mr squared by 2 into the omega f squared minus omega I squared by 2 theta. So, where omega f is the final angular velocity and omega I is going to be the initial angular velocity. Now, let us substitute the values. You can see that from the equation it is given that it is the torque applied required to stop after 2. So, the solid cylinder of mass 2 kg and radius 4. So, it is given as m is 2, r is going to be 4 and initial final angular velocity is going to be 0. And now let us substitute the value. So that is going to give you 2 into r squared is 4. So r is 4. So r squared will be 16 into 10 to the power of minus 4 by 2 into final angular velocity is 0. We know that. And minus initial angular velocity is omega is 2 pi f. So squaring that will give you 4 pi squared f squared divided by 2 into theta is nothing but 4 pi squared. We are getting it because it's going to be full circle. We take it as theta to be 2 pi. So it is now going to be 4 pi squared. So we have substituted the values. Now simplifying that, we get it as 16 into 2 and 2 gets cancelled. So that will become 16 into 10 to the power of minus 4 into 4 pi squared gets cancelled. So it is now going to be f squared by 2, which is equal to 8 into 10 to the power of minus 4 into 3 by 60 the whole square, which is nothing but we have taken f as the frequency, which is given by 3 rotations per minute. That is why we have taken it as 3 by 60 the whole square. Okay, 3 f squared is, so f is 3 by 60, so f squared will be 3 by 60 the whole square by 36 into 10 to the power of, oh sorry children, so divided by 2, this is 2, so this is now going to be 8, when you, on simplifying this you get 8 into 10 to the power of minus 4, for f we have substituted 3 by 60 the whole square, on simplifying this we get it as 8 into 9 into 10 to the power of minus 4 divided by 3600, on further simplifying we get it as 2 into 10 to the power of minus 6 Newton meter. Let's see which option is correct. 2 into 10 to the power of minus 3 Newton meter. So option 2 is correct. 2 into 10 to the power of minus 6. Sorry, 2 into 10 to the power of minus 6. So option 1 is correct. Sorry children. 2 into 10 to the power of minus 6 Newton meter. So option 1 is correct. Now going to the 38th question. In which of the following devices the eddy current effect is not used? Induction furnace, magnetic braking in train, electromagnet, electric heater. You can see that eddy current is used in induction furnace, magnetic braking and electromagnet, whereas electric heater is different, it's the odd man out. So option 4 is correct. Now going to the 39th question. Body A of mass 4 meters moving with speed u collides with another body B of mass 2 meters at rest. The collision is head-on and elastic in nature. After the collision, the fraction of energy lost by the colliding body A is 1 by 9, 8 by 9, 4 by 9 and 5 by 9. Now let us quickly solve this. So given M1 is equal to 4 meters. U1 is equal to U. M2 is 2 meters and U2 is 0. So let us take kinetic energy 1 is equal to half m1 u1 square. So that is equal to, but we know it is nothing but half m1 u squared, which is nothing but half into 4m into u squared. And kinetic energy E2 will be 0 because U2 is 0. So therefore, now we know that V1 is equal to m1 minus m2 by m1 plus m2 into u1 plus 2 m2 u2 divided by m1 plus m2. Now substituting the values, we get V1 is equal to, now that is nothing but U is equal to U1. So after substituting the values, we can see that V1 is equal to U by 3. So kinetic energy of the first body is, equal to half into 4m into u squared by 9. So V1 squared, which is nothing but u squared by 9. So we know that it is kinetic energy final by kinetic energy initial, which is equal to 1. So that is equal to, so kinetic energy, final kinetic energy by initial kinetic energy minus 1 is equal to delta final kinetic energy divided by delta initial kinetic energy, which is nothing but, substituting the values, we get it to be half 4m u squared by 9 divided by half m v squared, half 4mv squared minus 1, or simplifying that, you get it to be 1 by 9 minus 1, which is equal to minus 8 by 9. Let's see which option is correct. Minus 8 by 9, you can take it as a modulus value, absolute value, 8 by 9. So option 2 is correct. 40th question. Average velocity of a particle executing simple harmonic motion in one complete vibration is a by 2 omega, a omega squared, 4 is 0. Now we can see net displacement is 0 for one complete vibration. So the average velocity is also 0. So option 4 is correct. 41st question. Pick the wrong answer in the context with rainbow. When the light rays undergo two internal reflections in a water drop, a secondary rainbow is formed. 2. The order of colors is reversed in the secondary rainbow. 3. An observer can see a rainbow when his front is towards the sun. 4. Rainbow is combined effect of dispersion, refraction and reflection of sunlight. Now from all the options, we can see that the third option is wrong. That is, an observer can see a rainbow when he is front towards the sun. No, the observer should always be at the back side towards the sun. Okay, so option 3 is the wrong answer. Coming to the 42nd question. Two similar thin equiconvex lenses of focal length f each are kept coaxially in contact with each other such that the focal length of the combination is f1. When the space between the two lenses is filled with glycerin, which has the same refractive index, mu is equal to 1.5 as that of the glass, then the equivalent focal length is f2. The ratio of f1 is to f2 will be 1. Let us quickly solve this. So 1 by f is equal to 1 by f1 plus 1 by f2 minus d by F1 into F2. Now it is given that D is equal to 0. So, and also F1 is equal to F2. So, now this net focal length or the effective focal length is now going to be 1 by F. Let me take it as 1 by F1. So, 1 by F1 is equal to 1 by F plus 1 by F, which is equal to 2 by F. Or from this we infer that F1 is equal to F by 2. Sorry. F1 is equal to F by 2. Now the space is filled with glycerin, acts as convex lens of focal length minus F. So that becomes 1 by F2 is equal to 1 by F1 plus 1 by F2 plus 1 by F3. But already we have found out that 1 by F1 plus 1 by F2 is nothing but 2 by F, right? So let us substitute that. So 1 by F2 is equal to 2 by F minus 1 by F, which is nothing but 1 by F. So from this we infer that F2 is equal to F. So therefore F1 by F2 is equal to F by 2 divided by F, which is nothing but 1:2 ratio. F and F gets cancelled, so you get it as 1:2 ratio. Let's see which option is correct. So the ratio of F1 is to F2 will be, so from the given options it is clear that the second option is correct. 1:2 is that. 43rd question. A soap bubble having radius of 1 millimeter is blown from a detergent solution having a surface tension of 2.5 into 10 to the power of minus 2 Newton per meter. The pressure inside the bubble equals at a point Z0 below the free surface of the water in the container. Taking G is equal to 10 meters per second. Density of water is equal to 10 to the power of 3 kilograms per meter cube. The value of 2Z0 is 100 centimeters, 2 10 centimeters, 3 1 centimeter, 4 0.5 centimeters. Now let us quickly solve. Now excess pressure delta P is given by pressure inside minus pressure outside. Which is equal to 4T by R, where T is the surface tension and R is the radius. So at a point A, at a distance of Z0 from the free surface, then PA is equal to P0 plus rho G Z0, where rho is the density, G is the acceleration due to gravity. So from this we can infer that P0 plus 4T by R is equal to, this is going to be outside, right? So P0 plus rho G Z0, or we need to calculate Z0. So from this, we can see that P0 gets cancelled, so you get it as rho G Z0 is equal to 4T by R, or Z0 is equal to 4T by R rho G, which is equal to, now we know the values for T is given, for R is given, radius is given 1 millimeter, and then density is also given 10 to the power of 3, and G is 10. So having known all the values, we can now substitute the values. So 4 into 2.5 into 10 to the power of minus 2 divided by 10 to the power of minus 3 into 10 to the power of 3 into 10. Now simplifying this, we get it to be 1 centimeter. Let's see which option is correct. Option 3 is correct. 1 centimeter, option 3 is correct. Now the 44th question. Which of the following processes heat is neither absorbed nor released by system? Isothermal, adiabatic, isobaric, isochoric. Now we know for the adiabatic system only, Q is always a constant. That is delta Q is equal to 0. So it should be an adiabatic change. So option 2 is correct. Coming to the last question. Increase in temperature of a gas filled in a container would lead to increase in its mass, increase in its kinetic energy, decrease in its pressure, decrease in intermolecular distance. So you can see that increase in temperature will increase its kinetic energy. So therefore option 2 is correct. With this we come to an end. We have solved all the 45 questions in physics. So all the very best for the NEET exams. Prepare well, go through all the concepts. You can go through all the solved papers in Clay 6 also. You can we have as well solved the 2019 paper. You have a great collection of questions now. So you will know how the questions are being repeated and in what way it is being modified. So it should be pretty easy for you to crack the NEET exams easy. All the very best, children. Thank you.